with airplane peanuts.
I actually just moved to LA, but that is just out of, you know, how comedians very often you start somewhere, you do it there for a long time, eventually you move to LA, New York, now Austin. So I just came down to LA, but in terms of my style, definitely influenced by San Francisco, and that's where I came up for most of my years of developing.
Hi, I'm Joey Avery, and I'm running for mayor of San Francisco with a simple plan. Clean it up. Poop stinks, and so does fentanyl, which is why our social services task force will be lacing fentanyl with an ingredient that makes you devour your own excrement. So our city will be self-cleaning and fully renewable. Now that's what I call a shit-eating grid.
I grew up in Cleveland thinking about doing stand-up. Like, maybe I'll go to LA one day, maybe I'll go to New York. But you're kind of close. Would you say that this was inevitable? You were always going to go to LA and you finally made the jump?
It's a really good question, because actually growing up in the San Francisco Bay Area, I've always had like an antipathy towards LA because we have a rivalry. So I've always been like, oh, dude, fuck LA. I'm not going there. And in San Francisco, it's actually kind of like an actual city. So you can hop around, do multiple shows a night, tons of stage time. It's almost more like the New York of the West Coast, obviously on a much smaller scale. So a lot of me, for the longest time, I thought I was going to go to New York just because I love being on stage, stand-up specific, getting stage time, which is not what LA is known for. But then, you know, my life happened and it made more sense to move to LA, and a bunch of my, you know, peers who I'd started with in San Francisco all also moved to LA, and then it just became the obvious choice because I had a lot of things going on down here, and it is easier because I'm close to home, and I do love California. So that's why I ended up coming here.
As someone that has never been there, but hears a lot about it, is San Francisco as crazy and like absurd as people sound? Like, I feel like there can't be a place that actually exists like this, but the way that, you know, Rogan makes it sound and what I'm hearing, it's like I want to stay as far away as I can.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because if you listen to like Rogan or if you read Fox News articles, everything is like 12 people were shot by 2 gay homeless people with heroin sticking out of their ass while they were shitting on the street and like fucking a child, and you're like, oh my god, I'm never
in a tent.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so honestly, like, does San Francisco have its problems with homelessness, things that I would love if the city was able to find a way to improve both for the average citizen and homeless people? Absolutely. But the like fear mongering and everyone saying it's this like war zone, like, honestly, those people are fucking pussies and they don't know the right places to go in San Francisco. San Francisco's the shit. I stand by it. It's not as insane as you think, but it does suffer from the fact that downtown, like the main area, if you don't know where to go and you're just like downtown, it's kind of the worst part, but people who live there don't tend to hang out in the Tenderloin as much, even though there's a ton of great comedy shows there. But there's bad parts of it. It's great, and honestly, if you know where to go, it's one of the most beautiful cities in the country and the world.
There's bad parts about every city, but for some reason it seems like San Fran, it makes you think you're gonna step off the plane and get stabbed with fentanyl from some like random homeless dude. Like, it's insane.
Yeah, it's
the worst PR, and that might be the worst PR out of any city in the country.
It's because its problems are also like aligned with super left-wing politics. So like, it's got a bunch of issues, and it likes to fly the flag for a bunch of things that if you want to fight against it, it's like a poster boy for where all these problems come from.